Hi, my name is Deb Johnston and welcome to Better Balance, Greater Business. I'm holding this summit because, like you, I'm in business and I want to show you how you can increase productivity, how you can have more energy and live a more peaceful, fulfilled and balanced life while still achieving even more success in your business. Today, I'd like to introduce Apryl Schlueter. Apryl is the Chief Energy Officer at the Cheerful Mind, Inc. She's a happiness and productivity coach, a speaker, an author of Success in Balance, My Journey to the Cheerful Mind. I'm so excited to have Apryl with us today because she has a passion for helping people streamline their lives so they can have more time for ease, joy and balance. And she's going to talk today about our values and how our values play a part in this. Apryl, welcome. It's fantastic to have you here today.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I love the topic of your summit. It's such a passion of mine. So I'm super honored that we're able to connect and have an awesome discussion today.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You know, we've already talked a couple of times and great conversations, and you're definitely the embodiment of a cheerful mind, I have to say.
Thank
I'm
you.
really happy. And I'd love it if you would share a bit about your story and how it led you to be doing what you're doing now.
Absolutely. So I have actually worked in a lot of different industries. I graduated from college, from undergrad with a electrical engineering degree, thinking about, I just had a real strong passion for science and mathematics. And so that was just a natural fit for me in terms of where I thought I could take a career in with those interests. And as I started going through life, I navigated through always going through all these jobs and feeling like something didn't fit. And I thrived in all those jobs, but something just didn't feel right. And so after that, I became a high school math teacher, just kind of went a total 180 and then came back. After doing that for a few years, I decided to continue working in education, but I worked more in the administrative and finance realm, running a couple academic departments at the university that I went to. And, through all of these different jobs, I was still trying to figure out, I wanted to achieve this concept of success, make a lot of money, have a successful career. And I was working towards that. In the last role that I was in, I was working in a finance role, and I had this strange conflict with my boss. And it was funny because I had been working with her for a couple years and we had an awesome relationship. And she offered me this role where it was almost, going to be the stepping stone that was going to take me to the next level. And of course, I wanted to move up in my career, so I took a chance at it. And the position ended up not being a really great fit for me. But I'm so driven that I wanted to make it work, but I did it in the way where I was sacrificing, some of the things we take for granted in life all the time, like my sleep. I was just pushing through and working like crazy, just to make it work. And, I just couldn't get it to work. And so I got to a point where I was so burned out trying to be successful in this role that one day I went to the doctor and she was checking my hair. She's a dermatologist, so she was checking my skin, but never in the years that I had been working with her would she check my scalp. And so she was looking through it and she told me I had a bald patch on the back of my head and was asking me what that was about, and asked me if I was stressed. And it was at that point that I realized that I went straight to burnout and I wasn't taking care of myself. And so, trying to navigate this where I've always been a go-getter and now all of a sudden, what is everybody going to think of me? Because I'm now so aware that I have been allowing myself to push myself over the limit. And I ended up taking a medical leave and later ended up leaving. And it was tough because I didn't want to let go of this successful career path that I had been building for so many years, but I knew that I wasn't happy. And with the support of my husband, he said, I want you to be happy in doing what you love. And, thinking back about that career path, it wasn't really what I was passionate about. It was just more of wanting to take that stepping stone to the next level. And so it allowed me to get really, really real about what it was that I wanted. And I had, a set amount of time to really explore, what am I here on this world? What am I here in this world to do? And if I could have my dream job, what would that be? And I had noticed that I'd been really, really passionate about work-life balance, always trying to figure out, how can I have that? Because I was always working. I'm a natural workaholic. I love to work, but I also want to value the things that are important to me, like my family and the relationships that I have. I didn't want to be always working. And so how could I have a business where it was successful, but also made time for my family and all of my relationships, all my passions on the side? And so it kind of led me into this journey of trying to figure out, okay, I want to help people. I'm struggling myself with finding the time to do the things that I want to do because I have this laundry list that never ends. But I still am pretty efficient in the sense of being able to get things done. But how do I do it in a happier way? And then I was like, well, but if I'm pretty good at productivity and I'm relatively cheerful, I was a cheerleader in college and all, like, since I was a little kid, if I could bring that energy and help people make their lives more efficient so that they had more time to play, they had more time to go on vacation, spend time with their family, do the things that don't necessarily generate money but bring a lot of joy, how awesome would a job like that be? And so that eventually led me to look at coaching, because obviously coaching is helping a client get from where they are to where they want to be. And I wanted it to be this realm of helping them explore, how do they find balance? And of course I had to figure out what balance meant, because I think I saw a lot of people saying, balance doesn't exist. Like, I don't believe in balance, I believe in harmony, or there's all of these different things. And so along this journey, it was trying to figure out, what does balance mean to me, and how does that, how can I help people find that, and really what is balance for everyone, and realizing that balance is different for everybody. And then it became this journey of how do you live your life your way, instead of this misnomer of what everybody says balance is, where you're making a lot of money, you're really successful, everything's perfect. That's not what balance is. So really identifying at the core, what is balance for you, and how can I help you achieve that, and not what we all think is supposed to be the definition of success. So that's what I do now. And my coaching has a very much methodical, in the strategic sense, I focus on productivity. How do you do things, and how do you do them efficiently, but also the practice of the mindset. How do you do it in a fulfilling way, in a happy way, that's going to foster this, this just fulfillment in life, and being able to look at your life and saying, I did all the things that I wanted to do. And so I make that happen for my clients. And it's such a fulfilling path for me after all of those jobs.
I can imagine. And I love the insight there that balance is different for everybody. It's not the same. It's not like one. I think a lot of times people get this picture of a set of scales, and it's got to be even on both sides. And it's really not about that, is it?
Yeah, I think that the big realization for me is that balance is always going to, not only is it different for every person, but it's always going to change. So before I was a parent, I only had to look out for me and my husband. But as soon as you introduce kids, all of a sudden your priorities shift. So it's constantly checking in with your priorities and your values. And, as you grow, things change. And as those changes are introduced into your life, you kind of have to balance again. So it is sadly, it's a lifelong commitment, but but you can be happy. And as long as you can kind of roll with the punches that life brings you, all the ups and all the downs, if you can in that moment define what balance is and strive for that,
Mm.
you're just going to be so much more successful and so much more happy than you would be by trying to create this identity that may or may not be right for you as an individual. So it's kind of constantly checking in and constantly reflecting on what's truly important right now, and being able to accept that what is true now might be different 6 months from now, 1 year from now, just because there's always things that are impacting our lives, things that we may not expect, things that we plan, and we have to be able to be open,
Yeah.
but also plan at the same time. So it is very much balance, as the word, as the word is. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. So it's really about being flexible and knowing that you need to change, that life is going to change and you need to adapt with it and
Mm-hmm.
again, explore what your values are in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it.
100%.
Like values, I love values. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I work with my clients a lot on values as well. And so I love that you're going to talk about this today. So what is the tie between productivity and values? I'd love if you can share that with our viewers.
So what's really, really interesting is that, when I think about it from the context of running a business, right? Because everybody that's watching this is running a business or is thinking about running a business.
Mm.
And I feel, and I wouldn't have known this 3 years ago, right? Before I started this business, I never really thought about it this way. But, as I was going through the journey of really just understanding even what my life, what the foundations of my life would be, and realizing how important values are to, and just knowing what your values are and using that to drive decisions and all of those things. If you think about it from the life perspective, it's the same thing for business, right? Having a business where your core values are the foundation of how you run your business is going to really, really strongly impact the success of it. And so, as an example, when I was going through all the exercises to really identify what are my core values, what came up for me was fun, accomplishment. I love getting stuff done. That's just a huge part of me. I love having fun, doing things that make me laugh, make me smile, just bring a lot of joy. I really, really care about connection. So, having conversations with people, and I really care about authenticity, being real and being the true you. And so when I realized that, and trying to figure out, if I want to have a business that is, foundational, based on these foundations of these values that I hold dear to myself, what does that look like? And so, of course, naturally, when connection is a high value of yours, you're naturally going to be working with people or serving people in some sort of capacity. Since accomplishment was such a big priority and value of mine, I really, really enjoy helping people accomplish their goals, right? Because there's a productive nature of that. How do you create a plan, and when you have this vision of something that you want, and how do you achieve that? Because it's and how do you feel that accomplishment at the end of it? And then just having fun. I think that, having worked in a bunch of different organizations where things are a little bit more serious, I was definitely the type of person that would try to infuse fun things into work. So I had a fantasy football league team with my entire office, just to have some sort of competition on the side. It had nothing to do with work, but it inspired more connection even, and just interaction, and bantering with each other, and just having a lot of fun. And that was stuff that helped me get through the day. And so I take that into my business now, even though I'm a coach and I'm teaching mindset and productivity. you know, the program that I run with my clients right now, we are talking about, you know, having virtual dance parties, because all my clients are all over the place. It's like, you know, LA to New York to UK and Belgium, and they're all over the place. But you know, how do we come together? And there's a lot of, you know, similar passions, because obviously I'm attracting the type of people that are similar to me and have similar values.
Mm.
And so we're doing fun things like playing games on our group calls, and I'm sharing different things that I'm learning in the things that I'm doing. I'm taking improv classes now to enhance my speaking, and so you know, that's a lot more fun than going to some, you know, some speaking meetings, or just working on you know, going to a training that's just focused on speaking. So I try to think of fun ways to get the same result. And it when I do that, I just feel like everything is a lot more in flow. Everything just seems happier, and it doesn't feel as hard. And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, sometimes when we don't think about how our values drive the way that we run business, it just, there's a lot more conflict, right? When your values aren't being honored, then all of a sudden everything seems harder and everything takes longer, and you're not as happy. And that's hard, you know, when you're trying to run a business that is your own. If you're not having fun in your own business, then what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
So I use my values to drive some of the decisions that I make around my business. I also value flexibility very
Mm.
much. And so, you know, when I was starting my business and trying to figure out, you know, how do I run a coaching program, and you know, the person that I was working with was like, okay, you know, you have this number of group calls, and you have this number of clients, and this is how much you charge, and this is the kind of package you run. And I came up against a lot of resistance to that, because it felt very inflexible. I work with
Mm.
extremely busy people, some who
Mm.
are, you know, who are early birds and some who are night owls, and everybody has a different schedule. And I also talk a lot about living life authentically in your way. So if I create a business that is very cookie cutter, and you have to do things this process in this way, it it causes a lot of frustration with the people that I work with, because if it doesn't work for them, they're not going to want it. And so, you know, over the last couple of years, I've been, you know, thinking about, okay, what are the elements um, of a program that I can offer that offers the ultimate flexibility? What if clients don't even have the time to have one-on-one coaching calls? How am I going to serve them?
Yeah.
And so trying to problem solve that and say, you know, flexibility is important to me and it's important to my clients. So how do I create a package that is going to have that flexibility?
Yeah.
And as soon as I did that, the clients were just coming in droves. It was amazing to see how, you know, honoring my values and honoring the values of my clients just made things work better, more efficiently. And so coming back to this whole idea of how do values impact productivity, when you use your values to drive your decisions, you're going to get to those results so much faster than you would if you just said, well, everybody's doing it this way, so I'm going to do it this way too. Really think about at your core, what is the essence that you bring to the table? And people want, you know, they don't want cookie cutter, you know, you want to differentiate yourself as a business. And if you, and everybody's values are different. So, you know, if one, you know, one business's value is to like help you create like immense wealth, that might look different than somebody who is focusing on, you know, how do you foster great relationships,
Yeah.
right? So it really, it is a really great way to connect with your clients and understand what it is that they want, because if that's what you're providing, that's what's going to attract them. And so you
Mm.
just get stuff done much faster. It's also easy to make decisions, because you can use those values to drive, like, okay, do I want to use this platform or this platform? Well, which one's more flexible? Okay, I'm going to choose this one. It just makes it a lot easier, instead of
Yeah.
trying to get stuck in trying to decide which way to go. Because if you can think back about your values, like, is this the more fun way to do it? Okay, then I'm just going to do it that way. And you don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what should be. You don't get stuck in analysis paralysis of in any sort, because you can use those values to drive your decisions. So
yeah, absolutely. I get it. So what I'm hearing, like when you have that clarity around your values and you start to live by them and make your decisions by them, you can make faster decisions. Like you've got more energy because you're putting your energy into things that really fulfill you.
Exactly.
Success. Because you're more aligned, and also, I guess it decreases the procrastination. Like,
yes,
procrastination is a lot of it, isn't it? That resistance to doing something because it just doesn't feel good.
yeah, absolutely. And it's that's definitely something that I've learned over the last couple years, where if something doesn't feel right, I think that I've always tried to do things the hard way. And when I started this business, I said, it would be really, really nice if things just came naturally, that I didn't have to pull teeth to bring people into my business.
Yeah.
And it felt that way a lot for the first couple years, because I was trying to do strategies that I was seeing other people have success with, but they weren't necessarily, I mean, I liked what they were doing. I liked the things but it just didn't work for me. And so when I kind of took myself out of that position and said, okay, well, what will work for me then? How can I make this different? And I think that a lot of the models that I put out in my business are very rebellious, because I think I'm rebellious by nature, but I'm attracting the people that are like, yes, I don't like that either. And so we find camaraderie there, and it's just a lot easier to connect because I'm being true to, what's important to me. And then I don't, it's just a lot easier. I don't know why I wish I knew the secret. When I was, through all of those other jobs, it was, having to, please your boss, or having to, conform to something. And if I'm a rebel, I want to do rebellious things, and that seems to work well with me. So it's really tapping into your true self and your true values, and using that to guide your business, because then you can differentiate yourself from others really, really easily.
So true. And knowing you as I know you, I can't imagine you just sitting in front of a computer, doing all that computer stuff. And I have a similar value. I'm value connection as one of my highest values too. And in previous roles, I was in accounts management, but I always found a way to connect. I always found a way to get everyone in for meetings together, to get out and chat to people. So I always found a way to not sit behind my desk.
Yeah. And that was funny, because that very last job that I was in, all I did was sit at my desk, and no wonder, because it gave me no connection. I'm crunching numbers in a spreadsheet, and at my focus at the time, what I thought I was valuing was moving up the career ladder and making more money. And it really wasn't about that. If it wasn't fun, it wasn't fun to sit behind a computer. I wasn't connecting with people. I was doing whatever my boss was telling me. And it was just, it just was awful. And so, I'm thankful now, seeing myself on this other end where, I can wear whatever I want to work. I can, I don't have to be conforming to something that is not truly me. I can just run my business my way, and when it doesn't feel right, then I can change it, which is amazing. It just feels so great.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Isn't it? So what are the commonalities between balance and success? Because there are, aren't there? There are a lot of commonalities there.
Yeah, I think that the number one thing, so I was doing a talk a few months ago, and it was a talk that I've done a couple times before, but usually what I'll do when I do a talk is I'll ask people, what is your definition of balance? But what was interesting was then this specific talk, I asked 2 different questions and had people answer, what is your definition of balance and what is your definition of success? And when I started to read the definitions that people were coming up with, it was very interesting, because the answers were very similar in that realm of, wanting to be, happy and fulfilled, and, having a comfortable life, or, um, things that were not really, I don't know. It was just really, really interesting that they were almost the same type of answers when I asked them for two definitions of words. But I feel like in society, we look at balance as like trying to juggle things and doing a little bit of everything, or, balancing the scales. And then success is like, how do you get yourself to the highest of the high, know all the people and make all the money and have all of this status? And that's kind of what society comes to. But when you really, really ask people, like, what does success look like for you, it's not what society tries to depict. Even though that internally we think about wanting to go down that path. So it's just like balance. As I said earlier, there's different definitions to success, just as there's different definitions to balance. And so I think some people look at success as having balance. And, some people, want to make the money, and that's totally, totally fine. But really, what is it that will make you feel successful? I like to ask my clients this every day. If at the very end of the day you are successful, what does that look like? And I'll get things like, if I can go to bed without feeling stressed, or if I can just do these 2 tasks that I wanted for today. Has nothing to do with making immense amounts of money. And of course, yes, we all want to make lots of money, right? That's it just makes life a lot more comfortable. But what is success really? And if you pare it down, what is it that you're working toward? And then it ties back again to the values, right? It's what is it that you truly want? And sometimes I've noticed that when you know what your values are, and then you see, what you're defining as success, they're tied back to the values. I think it's more of this feeling of love and feeling comfortable, and not being a failure, and just being acknowledged and present in the world, and knowing that you matter, right? But sometimes when we think of success, we look at people and say, oh my gosh, they're making so much money, or oh my gosh, they're famous, or oh my gosh, they got on, this television show. And is that really success? I've seen so many shows of celebrities, like, reality TV shows where they're, they've got all the fame and they've got all the money, but they're struggling in relationship. Is that the success that you want? Or even just celebrities who are just their lives are so exposed, they have no opportunity to be private, and everything is being judged under a microscope. Is that really the way that you want to live? And so, when people say, I want to be successful, I always ask them, what does that mean? What is it that you want? And, many times I think when people are starting their journey, it is very much driven by, I want everybody to know who I am, or I want to be a millionaire, or I want, I just want the big house and the picket fences and the fancy cars. But once you have those things, then what? Then what? It's great to have those things, and if it's important to you, then that's wonderful. But is that going to be, when you have those things, are you going to be successful? What's going to happen there? Or are you going to want more then? And when is it enough? When is success enough? And so, I think that's even been a journey for me. I think I've always been on this path of like, okay, I want to find love, and I want to get married. Okay, I want to have kids, and I want to have a really, great career, and I want to have a nice house, and I want to get a dog. But then when you have all that, then it's like, are you fulfilled now? Is life over because you've made it? No, you always are craving more. So how do you define success? As you're growing, it's going to continue to change. And maybe you're just like, you know what, I don't need the money. I just want to be happy, and I want to have wonderful experiences. Or, I want to make enough money so that I can travel the world, or I want to make enough money so that I don't have to work anymore, and I can just appreciate life. I want to retire early. It's different for everyone, just like balance. So, it's almost funny because I feel like I'm always saying, well, how do you define that? It's almost like I'm rewriting the dictionary. Yes, you can say, I want to eat healthy. Well, what does healthy mean? It's really, really interesting when you start looking at these words and how they're interpreted, and you really can define what that is for you, and it might be different
Yeah,
from somebody else's perspective
it
completely.
is, isn't
So,
it? It's the meaning. And it does change. I mean, I revisit my values every year because
mhm.
they change. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's so important that you do have clarity around them. Like, as you just said, like people have identified often that balance is the same as success. There's the same values playing out there. So
Mhm.
it's important to have that clarity. So how would you suggest our viewers start gaining that clarity? Because there may be some people watching that have never even
Thought
visited
about
the
values.
area at all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't even think about values until the last few years. So I think and it's so funny now because it's the basis of everything that I do.
Mm,
Um I mention in my book, and this is, part of what I learned in my coaching program too. It's easiest to spot values in two separate scenarios. One is when you're extremely happy and everything feels in flow, everything feels wonderful. When you take a look at that situation and say, what are the values that are being honored? So, as an example, like whenever I spend time with my kids and they come and give me a hug, it's like I'm feeling the connection, and
yeah.
I'm just having fun because we're probably laughing about something, or when they say I love you, mommy, I feel like I'm being valued. I'm feeling like I matter. um and so, all of those things are coming into play, all of those values. You can also look at it from the flip side of when you're really upset,
Mm,
when you're experiencing a lot of conflict. What value is not being honored? So, one example is, I do value communication as well. So, I was on a call with somebody, and we started getting really heated at each other because we were talking in, and the conversation back and forth was just not feeling right.
mm,
And I felt like I wasn't being heard. I didn't feel like they really understood what I was trying to say, and it was frustrating because what they were interpreting wasn't what I had meant. And so,
wow.
I was seeing that my communication value was being dishonored. And so having to say, okay, this is what's causing this conflict. Let's start over. Here's what I'm trying to say.
Mm,
And then they're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden everything's okay again. So that's a really quick way to kind of see, at those two ends of the spectrum, what values are really important to you. I really also, there's a lot of values that are out there, and they can arise and come up. I mentioned earlier that, I have my top 5 values, but there are other things that I do value. I do value honesty. I do value loyalty. So when I feel betrayed, that's a conflict against my value of loyalty. So it's a great way to kind of understand what's important to you and what's not. um I also care about, like, quality. I'd rather work with somebody who really pays attention to detail than somebody who kind of throws something
yeah.
together at the last minute and doesn't isn't organized. So it's stuff like that that you can pay attention to. I also have a tool where I list a whole bunch of words values, and I can share this with your audience if you'd like to. It's actually called the Walk the Talk assessment. It's a how are you living your values, and what are they? And so sometimes it's just easier to kind of throw a bunch of words on a sheet of paper and see what feels important to you. So I have a list of 100 different values, different words, and I ask people to kind of narrow down, like, which are the top 5 that are calling to you, that feel
Mm,
most important. That if you had to narrow it down to just 5, what are those?
mm,
But then in the tool, it's saying, okay, those are important, but how much are you walking the talk? How much are you actually living out those values? So
yeah.
if somebody says, communication is super important, but then when they come up against a conflict, they they shut down and they
Yeah.
get quiet. Are you not communicating? But if communication is really important to you, then how can you start living that value a little bit more? And what opportunities might that bring forth if you're just able to speak your mind a little bit more? Yeah, it could be scary, but what if you could be heard? How much happier would that make you feel? And if you care about organization, and you've got a mess sitting, on your desk, all over the place, toys everywhere and books and paperwork everywhere. If you really care about organization, but you're not being organized, how much is that affecting your overwhelm and your stress levels? So really, really realizing how, if you're not walking in alignment with your values, there's just going to be a lot of rub, a lot of friction in your life. So if you can walk those values a little bit more, then things will just be easier. So yeah.
And that's your free gift, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So you can access Apryl's free gift on this page. There's a link on this page. So after you finish watching the video, click on the link and access April's free gift. I really encourage you to do that. Wow, this has been an amazing conversation, as usual.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and it's great. It's just so great to have conversations with people all across the world. I mean, you're so far away. It's morning where you're at, and it's nighttime where I'm at. So it's just great to have this connection, even though we're so far away. And I hope I can make it back to Australia sometime very, very soon, because I loved it when I was there last time. So
that'd be great. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
I think that, as obviously balance is one of the things that I'm most passionate about. If this is, if ever, anything in this conversation has resonated with you, I really encourage you to check out my book. It's on Amazon, and bookstores nationwide. So you can definitely find it out there. It's called Finding Success in Balance: My Journey to the Cheerful Mind. I think I've got, it's like, that's the cover back there. I'm trying to mirror myself. Yeah, it's back there. A nice purple cover. Obviously I work with very busy people, so I made it nice and concise and to the point, as much as possible. And there's just a lot of different tips in there about how you can find your balance, how you can find your success, and how you can thrive in all the different areas of life, right? Because even, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if your primary goal right now is to thrive in your business, how much would it impact you to focus on thriving in your health and your financial situation and your relationships and your family? I talk about all of those different things, and I use my experiences and my journey to kind of make a point and to share the tips that I have for you to explore, because obviously you aren't necessarily like me. I'm definitely like a firecracker and crazy and very energetic and do a lot of different things, but you might be different. And so having the questions that I've been able to draw now after experiencing this journey, how can you go on this journey that is yours and unique on your own, using the similar prompts that I used as I was trying to find balance and success for myself. So I would definitely recommend to check that out if you're interested.
Sounds fantastic. It sounds amazing.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Apryl. This has been a wonderful conversation and some fabulous insights and wisdom shared. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. And thank you for creating this space and putting this together. I mean, I think that a lot of people don't prioritize balance, and it's very, very hard, especially as entrepreneurs, people running your own business. It's that much harder to find balance, because you're so passionate about your work, but you also need to prioritize self-care and all of those other things, or you can't run your business efficiently. So, having this focus on balance as a foundation of business, I think is really, really important. So thank you for putting this out into the world and helping spread our message together.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yay. It's been a great journey. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us. I trust that you have gained some amazing insights that you can take away and implement, and implementation is key in this. It really is about taking action on the things that you've learned. So download April's free gift. When you've finished watching this interview, just click on the link and get access to it. I encourage you to do that. Keep tuning in for upcoming interviews. We have more incredible experts all sharing their tips and strategies on how you can be more productive, have more energy, and live a more peaceful, fulfilled, and balanced life. Talking about topics like time management, productivity, health and wellness, mindset, and lots more. Well, thank you again, April, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have the most amazing day today. Bye-bye.